Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a movie called The Night of the Hunter. So, this is probably the oldest movie I've reviewed on this channel so far, and it's also my first black and white video review. There are quite a few black and white movies out there that I like. It's just that, I've seen most of the ones that I'm interested in already, and so far I've only been talking about films on this channel that I've just watched for the first time. So, in this movie there's a guy named Harry Powell who's going around posing as a preacher, spreading the gospel, but everything that he does is motivated by getting money in some way, even if he has to do a few things that the Lord might not appreciate in order to get that money. Meanwhile, there's this family in which the father has just robbed a bank, and when the police go after him, he hides the money somewhere around the house where no one can find it. And, once he's taken away, Harry Powell finds out about the fact that, there's stolen money hidden somewhere around this place, so he marries into the family in order to get closer to the children, who are the only people other than, the father who know where the money is. And, that's where the film takes off. So, this has been listed before as one of the scariest movies ever made. And, personally, there are a lot of movies out there that I find scarier, but I can still see why some people would find this to be one of the scariest, because there are some really intense moments, and it does get very dark, especially for a movie that was made in the mid-50s, which I'm going to get into a little more near the end of the video. Now, when Harry Powell shows up in the movie, he's very charismatic, and he's actually fairly likable in the film. He does preach the Word of God a little too much for my taste. As a non-religious person, he's probably not the type of guy that I'd hang out with very often, but he is very charming nevertheless. And once he marries into this family and his true colors start to show, it does become all the more scary for it. He's a classic example of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, one sort of complaint that I have with the film is with the mother character, Willow. At first she comes off as a more interesting character. After her husband is taken away, she says that she's never going to marry another man. And even when she started falling for Harry Powell, I still felt like she was her own person, yet after they do get married, she feels a little too easily swayed by his word, and it feels like she's not even a human being anymore. So I thought that she was kind of a weak element of the film. And you have to forgive child actors, but the little girl who was playing the little sister in the movie, Pearl, was not the most capable performer. There were a couple of moments where I found her a little hard to believe, but the big brother in the movie, John, was performed very well, I thought, which is fortunate because he was the main character of the film, and he was the person who carried the majority of the story. And I also liked the fact that he was an intelligent little boy. When the predator was going after his prey in the movie, it had that battle of wits element going for it. And something that kind of redeemed Willow's weakness in the film was there was another female protagonist who showed up near the third act who was more of a badass and felt more like her own person, and she was a much stronger character, so that kind of made up for it for me. Another minor complaint that I have with the film is that even though it gets very creepy near the end, I felt like the suspense could have been drawn out a little more. It felt like things were tied up a little too quickly. But despite that, I do have to compliment the film for how risky it was at the time. You've got this villain who is a psychopath posing as a religious official, and on top of that, his targets, the people who are in the most danger, are these two children that he's going after. I mean, he threatens to slit the little boy's throat, and he threatens to tear the little girl's arm off. And I felt like he was the type of person who could carry these actions out, and as long as he got his money, he wouldn't lose a minute of sleep over it. And I don't care who you are, that is terrifying as hell. So, in the end, even though Night of the Hunter did have its imperfections, in my opinion, it was still a very excellent movie overall. If you're a fan of classic horror cinema, then I do highly recommend it. So that's all I've got to say about this movie. I hope you all have a good one.